FNAF characters are pretty scary, but they aren't the first group of spooky characters to be assembled, absolutely not. One of the best collections is the collective work of the SCP Foundation, a creative writing project under the Creative Commons license that has tons of cool and terrifying characters. But which ones out of the around 6,000 original characters would fit best in Five Nights at Freddy's? That's what we're exploring today. Let's do it. In at 10, SCP-191. SCP-191, also known as the Cyborg Child, is a female human child of unknown age. Well, to us anyway. The Foundation knows, but they haven't redacted. It is believed to have been the test subject of several experimental surgeries performed by a now deceased doctor of unknown name. 80% of the left half of her face and skull have been removed, with the eye and ear replaced by a complex transceiver system that allows it to receive and transmit not only visual and auditory input, but a wider spectrum of electromagnetic radiation ranging from a low-frequency radio to high-energy gamma rays. The lower jaw, teeth, and larynx have been removed as well. The esophagus has been rerouted to an artificial orifice in the back of the neck, which is a feeding tube, and the trachea rerouted directly to an air filtration device. This seems like something that Afton would do in order to keep his family alive or to bring them back from death. Like, this is what's hiding in William's basement, and Crying Child is the Cyborg Child this time around. In at 9, SCP-699. SCP-699 is a clear rectangular case 2.5 meters by 1.5 meters by 1 meter in size. Engraved on the side is the SCP Foundation Keter symbol and SCP-17591. The artifact appears to be made of plexiglass, but it is in fact a super dense polymer much stronger and heavier than any material currently manufactured. The weight of the object is estimated at around 24,000 kilograms. SCP-699 shows no seams in its construction and no obvious means of opening it. It has resisted all attempts to open, damage, or acquire a sample of the material and it is composed of. Attempts to acquire a small sample of the material so that it can be reproduced, though, are still ongoing. Does this sound familiar at all? A strange box that we can't open? Well, how about this? Quote, the contents of SCP-699 are under investigation and currently in dispute amongst researchers. Oh yeah, baby, that's right, the FNAF 4 box! However, the contents of SCP-699 are apparently telepathic and appear different to most observers, depending on their desires and psychological state. So maybe that's what's going on with the FNAF 4 box as well. Perhaps some things are best left forgotten for now. In at 8, SCP-838. SCP-838 is a collective term for a series of job ads appearing in newspapers that print in the vicinity of Chicago, and whatever agency is behind them. The job offered varies between instances and has included positions in accounting, management, and janitorial work, among others. These ads are entirely mundane unless responded to. Attempts to trace these classifieds have also proven unsuccessful. The next time a person who has responded to SCP-838 falls asleep, he or she immediately enters REM sleep. The affected individual reports experiencing extremely vivid dreams of having a job interview for the advertised job in a large windowless office building. Anyone hired by Pellis Inc., which is the company behind this, is to be considered part of SCP-838-1. Those not offered jobs are unaffected. When members of SCP-838-1 sleep during the week, they report vivid dreams of working in what is believed to be the same building that the interview took place in. In these dreams, the workforce of Pellis seems to consist entirely of people who have responded to these ads. Could this perhaps explain why we keep going back to this same job where we almost die over and over again, and why our alarm is a grandfather clock, and why we only stay until 6 AM? Could this be a real dream brought on by SCP-838? I don't know. Sounds like Dream Theory level 2. In at 7, SCP-978. SCP-978 appears to be a standard red and black Polaroid Supercolor 645CL instant camera, with no distinctive identifying marks or damage. SCP-978 operates the same as a standard camera and shows no anomalous behavior beyond the photographs it produces. When a subject is pictured with SCP-978 though, the photograph that develops shows not what the subject was doing at the time of the photo, but rather what the subject wanted to be doing. Unless what they wanted to be doing was what they were doing. Now, unlike 838, I don't think that this would really help explain anything, but the sheer amount of power an object like this would have to someone like William Afton is horrifying. Like, oh, let's take a picture of you and Bonnie. Click, finds out what they really want to be doing. Oh hey, I have the exact thing that you want to be doing in the back room, come follow me. Or hell, even like just us as the player, we can find out what Afton really freaking wants for once. And maybe we can finally get some goddamn answers. Especially since this works on animals too, so maybe it can work on like spirits. I don't know, the Foundation hasn't tested that yet. They tested it on rabbits. Apparently all they want to do is bang. I'm not kidding, there's actually like a log that talks about them taking a picture of a rabbit, and it was just them mating with another rabbit. And at 6, SCP-423. SCP-423 has no physical form. It appears to exist entirely within textual narratives. It was discovered in a used bookstore in Texas in a copy of Tom Sawyer. The book seemed perfectly normal except for the inclusion of a character named Fred, who was not known to exist in any other version of the story. However, it was not until it was left by a copy of Moby Dick that the anomalous structure of SCP-423 became clear. 423 is able to enter textual narratives, inserting themselves as a minor character. The details of the character vary from story to story, but it is always a character named Fred, or something similar, and its role in the story is usually minor. Physical descriptions of the character are rare, but it usually appears as a human male of average height and middle years. However, this can change depending on the nature of the narrative. But Fred has been a character in FNAF forever, so I mean this doesn't really mean much. So this could honestly just be a fun way of introducing a new character. Or instead, this could be a riff on Jeremy. So that's why there are multiple characters named Jeremy in the series so far. One of them is this Fred guy, but I don't know, it's just a thought. Halfway through into number 5, SCP-309. SCP-309 is a small plush stuffed animal that looks as if it has been turned completely inside out. Gold-orange fur is present along the seams, while a small amount of cotton stuffing and 2 protruding eyes are visible on its head. The interior of SCP-309 is understuffed with cotton, giving it a flexible and cuddly feel. SCP-309 has no effect on inanimate objects, however contact with living subjects is both dangerous and sometimes life-threatening. Humans and animals lightly brushing against SCP-309 with a finger or a similarly small portion of the body display severe, non-localized discomfort for tens of minutes afterwards. Humans also report feeling extreme nausea despite the fact that 309 does not induce vomiting. If SCP-309 is pressed firmly against the subject or the subject quickly picks up SCP-309 and attempts to hold it, the subject will be violently and painfully turned inside out within 10 seconds. Which I feel like at this point is pretty par for the course in FNAF's world, okay? Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. FNAF's world. This could just be a way for William to get out of the goddamn Springtrap suit, honestly. That's what I would use it for. And at 4, SCP-1048. SCP-1048 is a small teddy bear, approximately 33 centimeters in height. Through testing, composition of the subject revealed no unusual qualities that make it discernible from a non-sentient teddy bear. Subject is capable of moving on its own accord and can communicate through a small range of gestures. The subject regularly shows affection to individuals in ways found endearing by most people. Affection is usually given in the form of a hug to the lower leg, but subject has also been observed dancing, jumping in place, and in 2 separate events, it has even drawn childlike pictures for janitorial staff. All Foundation personnel that have interacted with the subject have responded positively to its affection, even D-Class personnel with normally psychopathic tendencies. However, SCP-1048-A is where things wander into FNAF territory. Since 1048-A is a small teddy bear of similar size and shape to 1048, however, this A variant is made completely out of human ears and will go around causing anyone that comes within a 10-meter radius to grow ear-like appendages, extremities, whatever, all over their body. Joy. Do I really need to explain why this should be in FNAF? Maybe William could finally get some flesh on his bones again. Literally. Getting close to the end in number 3, SCP-053. SCP-053, aka the young girl, appears to be a small 3-year-old girl. She is capable of basic speech and appears to be slightly above average in mental development. She has a generally pleasant personality and rarely seems upset, becoming agitated only in the presence of groups of people. Any and all humans over the age of 3 who make eye contact, physically touch, or remain around SCP-053 for longer than 10 minutes will rapidly become irrational, paranoid, and homicidal. Most, if not all of these feelings will be directed at 053, and afflicted subjects will attempt to kill 053 after first killing or driving off all humans visible to them. Those attempting to kill 053 will suffer massive heart attacks or seizures and die seconds after doing any physical damage to SCP-053. The SCP will also regenerate almost instantaneously from any wound, regardless of severity. So yeah, if her being 3 years old wasn't enough to be in FNAF, since apparently that's like the ideal age for a victim, like Charlotte was, which now that I think about it, this could just be Charlie, but she also causes anyone around her for prolonged periods of time to want to mass murder. So Yeah, that's FNAF material if you ask me. Penultimately, in at number 2, SCP-017. SCP-017, aka the Shadow, is a humanoid figure approximately 80 centimeters in height, anatomically similar to a child, but with no discernible identifying features. SCP-017 seems to be composed of a shadowy, smoke-like shroud. No attempt to find any object beneath the shroud has been successful, but the possibility has not been ruled out. SCP-017's reaction to shadows cast upon it is immediate and swift, as SCP-017 leaps at the object casting the shadow and completely encloses it in its shroud, whereupon it returns to its normal size, leaving no trace of the object it attacked behind. And this is the kind of thing that I honestly expect the ghosts to do in the FNAF universe. Like, if we really think about how the ghosts of the original 5 victims would act, I think it would be similar to this. I mean, this is kind of how they attacked Apton, right? Especially if the shadow looks like a small child. It would also fit into the universe in that sense. However, there would also have to be like 5 instances of it, but that's fine. It makes sense to me. And finally, in at number 1, SCP-173. SCP-173, aka Peanut, is probably the most famous SCP out there. It is constructed from concrete and rebar with traces of Krylon brand spray paint. SCP-173 is animate and extremely hostile despite looking like a statue. The object, though, cannot move while within a direct line of sight. Line of sight must not be broken at any time with SCP-173. SCP assigned to enter their container are instructed to alert one another before blinking, because there must be at least 2 individuals. Object is reported to attack by snapping the neck at the base of the skull or by strangulation. Personnel report sounds of scraping stone originating from within the container when no one is present inside. This is exactly how Foxy acts in FNAF 1 if you think about it. You have to keep checking in on him to make sure that he doesn't come sprinting at you to break your neck or whatever, however the animatronics kill you. Sure, with Foxy you don't need to have eyes on at all times, but Peanut would basically fit in perfectly in the FNAF world. And he's honestly the reason I came up with and started this list to begin with. So yeah, do it. That's all the time we have for today, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been and showermate Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video, unless I break line of sight with Peanut.